And welcome back. After the Baltimore City school system revealed that 0 students were proficient in math across the 23 schools in their system, the NAACP announced that it would hold a conference with state and local officials to address the dreadful Black student outcomes, calling the results intolerable. Mark, in its press release, the NAACP cited lagging academic achievement, students graduating without necessary proficiency, breakdown in school discipline, and a school to prison pipeline, and called it unacceptable. Now, the Baltimore school system is not the only major urban system with these problems, but these problems have been apparent in Baltimore for the past 50 years. How can it be reversed?
Well, this is a huge challenge. We've been through. We're obviously going through the blueprint now. We went through Thornton roughly 20 years ago. I think it's not just putting more financial resources. I think we need a kind of fundamental change in the way the systems are. We've talked about school choice. Certainly in DC now, half the kids go to charter schools. What we have is a system that's broken, and we need to do more than simply use the existing system with more money.
So, Mike, a report from the Center for Reinventing Public Education said this: America is at a profound moment of social struggle. School improvement can't wait for us to solve poverty or racial injustice. Critics say that legislators are not serious about fixing this program until they accept school choice and charter schools and voucher programs.
Well, I mean, I think the challenge, well, a lot of challenges there. You can't fix poverty or racial injustice and have that be resolved before we fix the school systems. The reality is, though, that we also need to understand, acknowledge, and recognize that we have so many students that are coming from backgrounds where they're seeing all of those elements, and that has to be taken into account. And I think that's one of the significant challenges that we see is we don't yet have a way to address that in our school systems, and we don't know how to do that well. And so as a result, we're still trying to take models that worked 20 years ago in suburban communities and try to apply them to increasingly diverse, increasingly poor, and assuming that somehow that's going to work. And we've got to come up with a way to figure out how to meet those students where they are, provide the resources they need. And I agree with you, Mark, it's not just about putting more money in. I mean, if you look at what happened in Montgomery County in this last budgeting cycle, we increased education by a lot. I can't tell you what we're going to spend the money on. There was no clarity as to where that was going to go. I mean, we talked about grand, broad brush strokes of things, but we need to be boots on the ground. We're going to make these changes to get these specific outcomes and be very clear on what we're tracking, what we're measuring, and to be able to determine whether or not students are being more successful. And we don't have those plans in place today that I can tell. And I think we've got to start really getting much clearer and identifying what those challenges are and what our solutions are for those challenges, and reappropriating how our dollars are spent to meet those specific needs.
Well, the one quote I didn't read from the NAACP was that Black children can learn just as well as any other children.
Of course.
And so which means, and I think this goes back to your point, Mike, we got to have expectations, and maybe we need to have higher expectations of what our children are capable of doing and what their outcomes should be. Yeah. Mark, I'll let you comment.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, we've talked about in fact, one of the things about Montgomery County schools is the expectation that with homework and parent involvement and tutoring and supplemental, the parents take a very active role, or are expected to take a very active role in education. And I think we got to step back from that and put more responsibility on the schools to provide that full range of support without the expectation that the parents are always going to be there to backstop the schools when they aren't able to educate effectively.
Also, Mike, are the schools capable of doing that though?
Sure, they have to be. We have to figure out how to get there. Otherwise we're failing our children. And so it's not as are they capable or are they not capable? That's the challenge that we have to address, and we have to address it. So we have to come up with ways to accommodate and understand that we have increasingly diverse populations, that we have two parents that are working 1 and 2 and 3 jobs. And so it's not a suburban model or even an urban model that takes into account parents, to your point, who are going to engage and be able to kind of rely on that backstop. We've got to be able to provide those students the tools and the resources that they need, and we just have to figure it out.
Well, I'll have the last word. We need to break the cycle of being dependent on the teachers union. We need to go to school vouchers so that every parent can choose the school they want to send their children to. We need competition in education.
We need to create a way to scale that too. We got 170,000 students in Montgomery County, and if ever all of a sudden you say, here, everybody go someplace, we don't have a system and infrastructure in a large community to be able to address that. And so that's a nice thought, but you still got to figure out a way to scale it.
Let me tell you, Mike, this is the capitalistic system. You give people a voucher that they can take to any school that they want. There will be opportunity. There will be educators coming out of the woodwork to provide that opportunity.